A virtual learning environment is entirely different from an actual classroom learning environment. The total change experienced by both the teacher and the learner in today's school setting expected. The learning environment is another important aspect aside from the curriculum in the complete learning package of students. So this activity will expose us to another learning experience, which enable us to our as students to make our virtual learning environment safe and conducive. Okay, so a pleasant evening to everyone. Today, we are going to interview Miss Riza G. Estrada, a teacher 3, teaching Araling Panlipunan subject and SSG advisor of Labrador National High School. So as what the field study activity says, we will follow the minimum health protocol at all times and of course, observe etiquette and netiquette during the online observation and interview process. So, hello po ma'am. We will conduct an interview to conserve classroom routines and procedures and to know how you handle and manage students through um, remote learning. So before we proceed to our interview, may I introduce our group in Field Study 2. So we are the group 3, taking a degree of Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Science. And okay, so my name is Trisha Joyce Suarez. To our co-members, Irene Custudio, Rufa May de la Cruz, Roxelle Romero, and Jenny Katakutan po. That's all.
So, hello po ulit. Good evening po, ma'am. Good evening to all. Before we proceed to the actual questions, may we request Ma'am Riza to kindly introduce themselves first. How many years are you already in the service of teaching, and the number of years you are teaching in what grade level and on what subject?
Actually, I am 6 years in service, and I start working in public at year 2015, and at the same time, this present 2021. And I am teaching Araling Panlipunan, particularly the grade 10 learners, for about 6 years also.
All right, thank you, ma'am. So let's proceed now to the first question. How do you manage virtual class?
Okay, so to answer your question, I manage my virtual classroom by using the technology available like laptop and cell phone with the help of the internet connection. So I usually use the platform, which is the Google Meet, and on their activities or the activities of my learners, I usually posted it or attach it on the Google Classroom. So just like how I manage face-to-face classes when the COVID-19 is not yet present in the Philippines, it is also similar to our new normal. It is just that the difference is I am not, or I and my students are not physically present, but the routines just like checking of attendance, praying before class and after class, oral recitations, okay, or group recitations or activities, I also use it in the Google Meet. So just like what I have said earlier, the difference is I am not facing them physically, but I am facing them virtually or with the help of camera.
Good evening. Thank you po, ma'am. So, next question po is, how do you make lessons that accessible to all?
Okay, so to answer again your question, handling 8 sections is very challenging for me. Those 8 sections comprises of 457 grade 10 learners with different learning modalities. So, since as a teacher, it is my passion to deliver the lesson very well for them to understand and learn. And as they have said, or lagi pong sinasabi sa amin that as a teacher, wala tayong dapat inuurungan para sa bata at para po sa bayan. So I am using Google Classroom where I put my activities such as their performance and then the summative test. So sometimes I make use of Google Classroom. So these platforms is for my students who belong to the online class, particularly the synchronous. Okay, the synchronous. Meanwhile, for those students who have internet access, but usually they use the mobile data, okay, we do have the group chat. So I have 8 GC since I am handling 8 sections. So I am sending them the activities or the module by in a form of pictures, and vice versa, their answer will be sent on my messenger personally. Okay. On the other hand, for those students who have not or who has no capacity to access the internet or do not have the technology, we are using, or I am using, the printed modular. So they choose the printed modular, wherein the school provided the photocopy of those modules and tests, and we have the schedule for distributing and retrieving the activities of the students.
Thank you po, ma'am. Good evening po. Our next question po is, how do you teach using remote video calls in remote teaching?
I think it is the same as my answer in number 1 and 2. I use the platform Google Meet because my students is very good in technology, and for them it is accessible compared to Zoom. Okay, so to deliver quality education, we are using the Google Meet. Okay, just like as I've said a while ago, I am not facing them physically, but I am facing them virtually. So even though that is the process, still we are delivering the quality education. So we are in the middle of the teaching learning process. Okay, wherein I am present in my own pace and they are present in their own home.
All right, thank you po ulit, ma'am. So as for the next question, how is your online class typically structured?
Okay, so my online class is particularly structured into 2. Okay, but then again, we are more focused on the synchronous kasi there are 2, synchronous and asynchronous. When we say synchronous learning, it is like distant learning wherein the students should or must have attend the online class on the schedule given by the teacher. So if it's the AP class is 1 to 2, the teacher and the student should attend the class on 1 to 2 for them to interact and communicate with the teacher, okay, or attend the class. While on the other hand, the asynchronous learning, the students will have their own schedule. So particular, when I say synchronous learning, I am teaching virtually. But when we say asynchronous learning, I am sending the activities and the modules in picture form through their GCs.
Thank you po, ma'am. So, how do students communicate or interact during an online class?
Okay, so since a teacher or I as their teacher is the pilot or the driver of the class, okay, from the very start, I already set the rules and regulations that if my students want to recite or say something, they will raise their hand. Since on the Google Meet, we have the raise your hand there. They will just click it and open their camera or unmute their microphone, then that's the time that my students may give their ideas or the answers based on the questions. On the other hand, if my students or if there were no students that uh, want to recite, I as their teacher, since I am the driver, I will call the students, okay, and he or she will give the answer, because on my part as a teacher, I treat them equally, okay, or fairly, respectfully, based on their understanding, based on what they know, based on their it's not based on their gender or their sex, basta I treat them fairly, okay, whether they are not they made mistake on the answer, they do not know the answer, as long as they impart, okay, there are ideas on our lesson. So that's the process where my students and I interact on virtual class.
Thank you po, ma'am. Our last question po is, how do you handle students who lacks on gadgets and internet connections? Are you considering their reasons and willing to give them a chance and willing to give them chances to pass their activities even if late?
Okay. My answer is case-to-case basis. So it is based upon the situation. Okay, but as a teacher, we are much considerate to our students. So for the online class, particularly the synchronous, okay, I am giving them enough time to answer the specific activities. But on the summative test, okay, they will answer only, okay, a day before, or just like if today I give the summative test, tomorrow they will submit it. But on the modular and on the asynchronous learning, they are giving much time, okay, because they have their own schedule, unlike the online class students. But if the students or the learners have valid reason, just like they got sick, they got second dose, they cannot answer on time, okay, I am considering those students and those activities also, because, okay, we as a teacher should understand the feelings of our students and consider every time, because sometimes if we cannot consider their answer or their activities, okay, get they might drop, or they might feel uncomfortable on the subject. And at least if we consider those students who have valid reasons, okay, they will get grade, they will pass, and it is a good feedback on us, as a educator. So that's my answer to your question.
Okay, so thank you so much po, ma'am, for your kind participation and for answering our questions. Um, Thank you po, kasi we do now distinguish practical and feasible classroom routines and procedures in a remote learning. And based on your answers po, we realize teaching strategies in establishing our own procedures, and this interview um based on your own answers din po, you promote active participation of learners and using their modern technologies, even they are geographically remote or don't have gadgets and do not have good signals. Thank you po ulit, ma'am, for answering, and I thank you po for your wonderful and amazing answers to our questions po for us to comply our requirements in field study 2, activity 2. Thank you po, ma'am, and sorry po kung naabala namin kayo ngayong gabi.
No
Thank you
problem.
po, ma'am.
If I may add, if one of our students, this is the basic na ginagawa ng educator, if one of our students cannot comply on the activities or the test, we are doing the home visitation. We are visiting the students for him or her to pass her subject and to inform the parents.